I'm gonna be in here. Will they be able to hear me, or will I need to pull it up on my? I don't know if they'll need. I don't know if they'll need me in the call. We had a 2-hour executive session where I did nothing to answer questions yesterday. Yeah. I was sitting in here for 2 hours. I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick, but then I'm gonna be in there. And I'll pull up my, so I can be able to pull up cases if they need it. I'm gonna just go smoothly out of the meeting. But you maybe need to be ready with a signal pipe. I can be quiet if you want to go ahead and turn it on. No, I can leave it on. I turned it off yesterday. Because nobody was in. Nobody was in here, and I thought probably just waters in. But if you're in there, like to stay on. Yesterday was gone. I'll leave this door open.
Hello? Hello?
Just sit tight, Helen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, just put your phone on mute. There's nobody on yet.
Oh, okay.
So the camera is actually on the table here. So they'll be able
Yeah,
to
I
see
know.
what
I
you're
saw
in.
it yesterday with the room dark.
Okay.
That's why I came over here so nobody could read my computer screen, because I think it shoots like from this thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can see what's down
Yeah.
at the bottom corner, a
Yeah.
little small. But yeah, so.
Hey, Russ, we can hear you. Russ, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello?
Afternoon.
All right, it is 2:00, so I'm going to call to order the meeting that has been recessed from yesterday, June 9th. It is now 2:00 on Friday, June 10th, 2020. We will recommence the meeting, but before I get started, I'm going to call the roll to see who we have here with us today. I understand that we may have some people that need to leave and some that are unable to attend until a certain time. We're going to try to do the best we can today, but we've got business we've got to take care of, so we're going to do our best. I'm going to go down in the same order as I did yesterday. Mr. Mike Long,
Here.
Mr. Frank Griffin,
Here.
Ms. Helen Rice,
Here.
Ms. Lisa Kennemore,
Here.
Mr. Kenneth Mason, Mr. Kenneth Mason. Okay, we'll come back to Mr. Mason. Mr. Scott Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Mike Royal.
Here.
I am here as well. Miss Zoller. Ms. Zoller. And we'll come back to Ms. Zoller. Mr. DeJarnett.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Donaldson.
Here.
Mr. Benton.
Here.
Ms. Petty. Ms. Petty. Okay. Mr. Mason. Mr. Mason. Ms. Zoller. Ms. Zoller.
Here.
Mr. Mason is here. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Zoller. Ms. Petty. Ms. Petty. All right.
Yeah, I know she was planning on being on the call.
Okay. All right. We currently have 12 in attendance. She just texted me and said, "Are others in?" I'm going to yesterday's link. And I'm going to let her know there's a new link. Someone may want to reach out to Miss Petty. I don't know if she has the new link for the recessed meeting. We'll pause for a second to allow Miss Petty to get on. I know Ms. Zoller has a conflict and will be on later if we're still meeting. Mr. Sweeney, I know you have a conflict as well. What time is your conflict?
I've waived the conflict.
Okay. Well, to that end, I believe Ms. Zoller will be on at 2:30. I would very much like unanimous participation. I don't know how long our conversation is going to be today, but I would very much like it. And so if it's at the pleasure of the chair, and if no one disagrees, we can go ahead and begin discussion once we get Ms. Petty on. And I would very much like to pause the vote and take a recess until Ms. Zoller can join us and we have all 14 of the board members. But that may be moot. We may still be in discussion for all I know.
I am sending Finna the updated link right now. She'll be on it shortly.
Thank you, Ms. Jerry. We'll take a couple minutes to pause until Ms. Petty's able to join us. Thank you for that. Hope everyone's having a pleasant Friday.
I'm having a fabulous Friday.
Lisa, I can always count on you to have a fabulous Friday. That's good news.
Well, my grandson is here at the house, so I'm having a better Friday, Lisa.
Oh, I need to come over to your house to get my baby fixed.
I'm here.
Ms. Petty is here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have 13 in attendance. Ms. Zoller is unavailable until 2:30, but we'll go ahead and proceed with the meeting. To bring everyone up to speed, as a reminder of what we're doing today, yesterday we had a called board meeting for the sole purpose of discussing the charter school renewal and of the Museum School of Avondale Estates and its charter with DeKalb County. We went into executive session. We came out of executive session. There was a motion to reconsider the vote that we took on April 11th to deny the charter school petition between the Museum School and Avondale Estates in DeKalb County. that motion to reconsider passed unanimously with, at the time, I believe it was a 12-0 vote. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the action item of, and I will read the exact language, but it is the same action item from the April 11th, 2022 called board meeting that we had. And the action item states that it is recommended that the State Board of Education grant a charter to the Museum School of Avondale Estates, a grades K through 8 local charter school approved by the DeKalb County Board of Education for a 3-year term beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2025. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve that action item.
Motion to approve by Donaldson.
Mr. Donaldson, your motion is noted. Is there a second?
Second by DeJarnett.
Who, Mr. Griffin, was that you?
I started to, but I believe that Dr. DeJarnett beat me to it, so that's fine.
It has been seconded by Dr. DeJarnett. Is there any discussion? And I'll remind everyone to please mute if you're not talking so that there's not any background noise. But if there's any discussion, this is the time to have it.
Mr. Chair, can you just repeat the motion that's on the table, please?
I will. It is recommended that the State Board of Education grant a charter to the Museum School of Avondale Estates, a grades K through 8 local charter school approved by the DeKalb County Board of Education for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2025. That is the action item that has been moved on and seconded.
Mr. Chair, so just for a point of order, for like we did last time, so if there are members that would want to obviously deny this, then we would vote in the negative on this affirmative action in that. So that's real where we are. But from a housekeeping standpoint, that's really the only business we have before us today is the approval or denial, correct?
Correct. So, and that's a fair point, Mr. Royal. So the motion itself on the action item is to approve the petition. So if one wants to allow for the agreement of the petition of the charter itself to occur between DeKalb County and Museum School, they would vote in the affirmative, yay or yes. If they do not want or do not approve that action item, they would vote nay or no in this instance. It is the same vote and the same action item that we previously took a vote on April 11th, but we have moved to reconsider that vote, and that is what we are now doing. And I want to remind everyone that you are not bound by your previous vote. That is the point of a reconsideration. Not encouraging anyone to change their vote. I'm simply saying you're not bound by your previous vote as a housekeeping matter. Thank you, Mr. Royal, for that clarifying. Did you have some more discussion, Mr. Royal?
Yes, sir, because I appreciate the discussion with our council revolving around this and the potential litigation that we had yesterday on that we had that is obviously able to be handled in executive session. And, and sleeping on it and thinking about it, where I am is coming back to, obviously, we discussed a lot of statute with our attorneys and implications of that statute. And where I am personally is I keep coming back to the public interest on this, and the State Board of, and the fact that the State Board of Education is a party to this contract. And in the code section, it does allow for us to weigh public interest. And what does that mean, public interest? For my perspective and my vote, public interest is not just the students at the school. The public interest is definitely includes the students at the school, the parents, the community that it serves, and the stakeholders immediately in it, but also DeKalb County and the state of Georgia, and what this means for charters, and what this contract, specifically this one, as we're looking at it, prima facie, just as it is the museum, the contract between the authorizer, DeKalb County, and the charter, the museum school. When I look at just the facts that I have looked at and seen, and the testimony that I have heard and received, that when you're looking at just this one by itself, that I can and am comfortable with denying this petition, because I believe it's against the public interest of the community, the students, the county. I voted for other contracts in DeKalb County, other charter schools in DeKalb County. But looking at this one and the state as a whole on what it means and our duties and our participation in this contract as one of the signees, the State Board of Education. And then that's where I've come to rest on it, is that. And I just wanted to make sure that was in the record. So if and when this is looked at or challenged and anybody's looking at public interest, my vote is not just narrow, but it's very broad and narrow to that. But that's why I'll be casting my vote not to renew this not to affirm this contract as it is right now with DeKalb County and the Museum Charter School.
Thank you, Mr. Royal. Any further discussion on this issue?
Mr. Chair, this is Mike
Chair.
Long, may I speak?
Go ahead, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Chair, do I have the floor?
Yes, Mr. Long, go ahead.
Thank you. I think the word precedence was used several times yesterday. Are we setting a precedence? I think we need to look at in the mirror about the reverse precedence as well, about the ability for an authorizer to change their mind to a different time frame. So I think that there's needs to be the lens needs to be widened to look at both angles of what a precedence is, and that's about all I need to say about it. Just was riding and thinking, and I thought about the word precedence and what it really stands for, and then we could both sides of this are setting a new precedence if things go either way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Mr. Sweeney?
Mr. Chair, just a few observations. The State Board of Education has previously approved 3-year petitions. And I have a question for staff, if the staff is there. Is somebody, are Godot representatives on the line?
Who do we have from Godot that's on the line?
Yes.
Superintendent Woods is here.
Right.
All right, Superintendent Woods. There were some others that were talking. Who else is there? I know Jerry's on. Who else?
This is Tiffany Taylor.
Hi, Tiffany. Thank you for joining us. Who else?
Here is the question. Previously, have charter petitioners applied with the LEA for a 5-year petition, and yet the local LEA only approves a 3-year petition that was subsequently approved by the State Board of Education.
So yes, essentially the petition does not lay out a request for years by the petitioner. All of the petitions are for petition for a charter term. The initial assumption is that the request is for 5 years. The local board may then obviously make the adjustment of 3 years or less than 5 years based on their work that they've done with their school over the course of that charter term. But yes, every petition that has been approved by the state board that has not been 5 years originally came as a standard petition for 5-year request.
Thank you. The other question I have, and this is specifically with regard to a pathway, and I don't know that this is a question. It's in Georgia code. And I know that the museum school is interested in pursuing a state charter schools commission approval. And yet the Georgia code is quite specific. And the Georgia code is very, very specific. And it essentially says that the State Charter Schools Commission is prohibited from acting on the charter schools petition until the local board of education in which the school is proposed to be located denies the petition. And they have not denied the petition. The local DeKalb has approved this petition. We disagree with regard to the term, but they have agreed to the petition. Okay, and I am just very, very deeply concerned that there is not a pathway for the museum school to pursue its relationship with the State Charter School Commission absent a denial from DeKalb. And for that reason, I will be voting to approve the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Any further discussion? Tiffany, I have a question which sort of expands upon what Mr. Sweeney had asked, and he brings up a fair point that in the past there have been 3-year charters that the State Board of Education has approved. But are you aware of any circumstance where a charter was given 3 years by the local authorizer, and for lack of a better way of wording this, the charter did not want that, and as such fought to even have the charter approved? And I guess I'm trying to think of the right way to ask this, but has there ever been a circumstance prior to today where someone wanted 5 years, a charter, that a local authorizer only gave them 3 or 2, and the charter, rather than saying, well, okay, I guess we'll live with that, we want 5, but we'll live with 3, which is what seems to have happened in every circumstance up until this point. Has there ever been a circumstance where a charter has said, absolutely not, we requested 5 and we want 5, we don't accept the 3? Has that ever happened before this circumstance with museum school? And if it has, specifically which schools was it? When did those meetings take place? And what did the State Board of Education do in acting upon that?
So not in my time at the department. I would have to go back and check with members of the team on, if that had happened, historically, if there are cases where that happened. It may be possible. I'll have to check on that for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Scott Johnson. Can I make a comment, please?
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
So in the request by the the charter school for a 5-year term, which is traditional for a school that doesn't have issues that warrant a shorter term. It could it not be? I'm asking the question rhetorically. Could it not be considered a denial to change the terms of the contract and say, here it is. You have to live with it because this is our offer. That to me could, at least the question is worthwhile, just to say this could be a tacit denial.
Mr. Johnson, Mr. Johnson, I will refer the board to my prior written advice and ask that you end this line of discussion.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion?
Hello, Mr. Downey. This is Lisa Kennemore.
Yes, Ms. Kennemore.
After listening to conversations from different people on the board and also reading through a lot of the documentation and on the e-board agenda items and information that we've received from the museum school and DeKalb County school district. I'm only looking at what is in the best interest of, first of all, the students of the school and the state of Georgia. And I am concerned with everything that's going forth. And the museum school has, as far as I see, they have uphill their part of the contract. We are to look at, in 20-2, 2063.3, A2, establishing high academic. They have an academic measure and assessments higher than DeKalb County and the state of Georgia. And I don't know how many board members have been over to the school. I have visited the school on more than one occasion, and I was just really excited about what they are doing for the students and the community. So looking at this and considering the public interest in this school for the students in the state of Georgia, I am going to vote no.
Thank you, Ms. Kennemore. Any further discussion?
I just want to add that we, in this particular situation and moving forward, we should consider the standards for authorizers. And I think moving forward, that is in the best interest of not only the public, but the effectiveness of our committee, of our Charter and Flexibility Committee. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I guess if this is denied by the board, there's a desire, we understand, by the museum school to become a state charter schools commission special school. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. And in fact, they have already been on the agenda for the State Charter Schools Commission and have already been approved as a state charter school, notwithstanding any corrective action that this board may or may not need to take.
Right. And this board needs to be prepared with regard to how that pathway actually works. That is in the public interest as well. And currently under Georgia code, and I am citing from the code itself, and this is in regards to the State Charter Schools Commission, it stipulates, and this is OCGA 20-2-2084C2. In part, it reads, the commission shall not act on a petition unless the local board of education in which the school is proposed to be located denies the petition. Okay. Now, we heard from Ms. Taylor that it is not uncommon for all applications to initially be submitted as 5-year applications and then end up at a 3-year result. One of the largest reasons cited by members has been that this is a 3, not a 5-year approval. And I am just deeply concerned about the future of this petition to be situated with a State Charter Schools Commission, given the limitations of the section in the code that I just cited. And that's all I have to say about this. And as I said, I will be voting to approve this. I candidly wish this was a 5-year charter and not a 3-year charter, but I believe a 3-year charter gives much more certainty to the students, the faculty, the staff, and the families of the museum school. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Royal.
To your question, and Tiffany could only answer what she's been involved with, but you know, Helen and I have been here 12 years, and so has Mr. Mason. Something that Mr. Sweeney, with all due respect, something you just said was inaccurate. You just said it's not uncommon for 3 years. Actually, it's extremely uncommon for 3 years. And that, and you also mentioned that some board members are basing their vote on this being a 3-year. That is not, I just want to be on the record.
Mr. Royal, I want to interject again.
Sure.
With what Russ had cautioned earlier.
I am not
understand.
Considering that. That's what I wanted to say is I am not considering that. There's public interest involved that does not relate to whether this is a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year. That is not my consideration on that. It goes way beyond that. And Mr. Sweeney, I respect the reason you're voting and on that. And I know there's some other board members that are going to vote in the affirmative in it. And I'm not just saying this, I honestly respect where you're coming from. Whether you vote in the affirmative for this for reasons of local control or not, we all have, we're 14 members and we're 14 votes, and we all have to make a decision and vote. That's one of the difficult things about this state board is at the end of the day, sometimes you got to vote and sometimes you don't like it, the way you vote. And I respect all the members, but I just wanted to make that point. One, I believe still majority of the contracts, charter contracts, have my signature on them because I was the chairman when they got a lot of them were redone on there. And I can say for a fact, I can't articulate exactly, but I would bet my 401k that there are very few out there with 3 years. But that is not my reason for denying this. And I just wanted to put that on the record, that it is much broader. There's a much bigger picture to this that incorporates public interest. Public interest is a very broad definition. But when we look at the museum school and their authorizer, just under this one, there are a lot of reasons, and we may be forced, and I may be forced later to articulate them to somebody else, and I can do that because the day that I can't vote how I think is right because of some rule or law or something is the day I'll leave. And I'm not ready to yet. I know there's some that are ready for me too, but I'm not ready yet because I believe this makes a difference to those kids, those parents who have made the choice to drive every day to get their kids up, to take them to this school because that means a better opportunity for them to be successful. Who's watching out for them? And Mr. Sweeney, I understand that you think they may have a better opportunity because of legal BS and minutia that might come after this, that you think they may have a better opportunity to stay because if we vote in the affirmative. I understand that. I completely do understand that. But I just respectfully disagree. And the day that I can't vote my way on that is the day I'll be gone. And I don't mean that to anybody that's voting in the affirmative. I don't mean anything ill will towards them on that. But so if this is looked at by a judge or somebody, I just wanted to put that reasoning on the record and on the public record. So there's no question on where my vote is.
Thank you, Mr. Royal. Any further discussion?
I just want to concur what Mr. Royal said, Chairman Downey, and I am not looking at specifically the 3, 5, 4, whatever year term it is. I'm looking at protecting students and holding charter schools accountable and making sure that all students are able to be in a school that will give them the best opportunity academically as possible, and also protecting the public interest. And that is what I'm looking at. So it's not anything that Mr. Sweeney is saying, even though I respect what you have to say. And as an individual on this board, I have my thoughts and concerns about different schools and this particular issue at hand. I have concerns about it, and my vote is 1 of 14. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kenmore. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I could say.
Yes.
If I could say one thing, because it has come up, I would remind the state board that your consideration today is solely on the DeKalb County contract. You have not been advised on the legality of any potential action by the State Charter Schools Commission or whether it is within the ambit of their authority. The State Charter Schools Commission will be revisiting its action in light of yesterday's vote of the State Board of Education, and it may be that there is no legal basis for its prior determination. I'm just wanting to make that clear on the record that there may not be a second action by the State Board of Education considering a state charter schools petition, because that was referenced by several members during the discussion.
But Russ, let me ask this. It is one of the reasons in the interest, public interest, that that's one of the 3 or 6 that are there. So if you're feeling that it is in the best interest to either deny or vote yes, public interest is one of those that the board does have the authority to vote on. And at some other point, you know, we need to be looking. I think it was always the intent when these laws were written to support charter schools. And that's why it gives the state board a lot of leverage in there to do things. So be mindful of that we do have, and we are the last word on a lot of things, even though the advisory commission, they're an advisory commission, and we've heard that from before. They advised that, but they advised it because it was sent to them and said they had come up with 3 years. And so they thought they merited a charter. So right. Be mindful that you do have some authority to vote, and public interest is one of those ways that you can vote.
Ms. Rice, I think you you mistook what I was saying. I just don't want the board to be sandbagged. There were references to the State Charter Schools Commission will be granting
I got
the
you.
museum school a charter that will then be before the State Board of Education. I am advising the board that that is not necessarily a fait accompli at this point.
I
As you
understand.
weigh
We
your
got to take
vote
one
today.
step at. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Ms. Rice.
Mr. Chair, I want to put forth a hypothetical as well.
I think it's 2:30, 2:38 or 6. Sorry.
Mr. Chair, do I have the floor?
Yes, Mr. Sweeney, you do.
All right, here is a hypothetical that I think the board should also take into consideration, and certainly given the comments that we just heard from Russ Willard with the Attorney General's office. The hypothetical is this: imagine that there is a petition that is proffered by the State Charter School Commission for the museum school that ultimately needs to be approved by the State Board of Education. And if that were the case, what would be different in that application aside from the timing and the length and the duration of the charter?
We're speculating.
Or
we don't have the
I know
contract.
I'm sorry. Listen, everyone, hold on. Everyone, please, I'm calling to order. Mr. Sweeney has the floor. Please allow Mr. Sweeney to finish his thought, and then everyone can weigh in. Please.
And yes, I'm speculating. I'm looking to the future. Okay, because if this is not a locally authorized school, potentially it becomes a state charter school through an approval by us as well. And I don't know what that application looks like, but can just imagine, for example, it's the same application as presented to DeKalb with a five-year versus a 3-year charter. And then it comes before us for approval. I'm just asking you all to think about those things. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It is just speculation on my part, but that's a possibility that we need to take into consideration as well. Thank you.
Mr. Royal, I'll let you comment, and then Ms. Rice, you may comment.
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Ms. Rice.
Well, I mean, we are speculating, and it, you know, Scott was speculating something, Johnson, and that was not allowed. But the issue too that, and we need to have a discussion about the way charter schools are run. But generally, the DOE is monitoring these charter schools, and generally they're the ones that bring to the board whether to approve 5, you know, what they've gotten back. So some of the processes I think we need to review at a later date. But generally, the board always renewed 5 years, unless there was something wrong with 3. I'm not even on there with 5 or 3, but I'm just making that statement to y'all. That's how it went. They asked for 5, and unless that was something else, that's just a point of reference for you to know. But I still, I think it's time. It's 2:30. It's 2:40.
What does, Ms. Rice, what, I mean.
40 is.
I'm sorry?
Is Martha on yet?
She is not. She's not
okay.
announced that she's on, so I don't know, but I want us to have healthy debate on this issue. I know that everyone has heard arguments, but I want to make sure that everyone says what they need to say, that we leave no stone unturned. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Stan DeJarmo.
Yes.
Before we close out the discussion, I just want to go on record as saying I would like to echo what Mr. Sweeney said in his reading of the code. I don't think he's pontificating in the reading of that code. I think he is reciting that code. And that and the other concerns that I have expressed previously about our following of the law. And I understand that there's obviously some disagreement about that, but I think that the narrow path that we're trying to take regarding public interest not compelling enough for me to change my vote, because I do think it is possible that based on the that if we do not approve this charter, the museum school may be out of options. Based on the sections of the code that Mr. Sweeney read, that I have read as well. So I believe that it is our responsibility to, in the best interest of the students and staff of the museum school, to grant them the term that has been recommended and approve this charter. I'm deeply concerned about the uncertain future that may be that the museum school may face if we don't take our responsibility. And respectfully, I believe that we are bound by the legislation and the law to approve a charter that has been approved and submitted by a local board of education. So I'll finish with that, and then I'll wait to hear other comments.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Donaldson.
I'd like to have a few minutes, please. Not even a few minutes.
Yes, sir.
You know, there's been a lot of back and forth, and as everyone can tell, the board is divided. But there's been many people say this is about the children. This is for the children. A yes vote solves all those pending issues for the children. A no vote puts them in peril. That's my opinion, and that's why I echo the sentiments of Mr. Sweeney and Dr. DeJarnett. That's just how I feel on it. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Ms.
Mr.
Zoller, are
Chairman?
you in attendance?
Mr. Chairman, I have joined. Thank you.
Wonderful. Good to have you. We now have unanimous participation. We'll continue the discussion.
Mr. Chairman? This
Yes,
is
Ms.
Lisa.
Kenmore.
I just want to, go ahead and note that what Mr. Donaldson has said, I do not agree. I just want to make sure that that's on record. And all of us we are 14 different members, and we have 14 different votes. None of us are, the same. We all have different thought processes, and it is, upon us to vote what the code reads, and also to make sure that we look out for the public interest of the students, administrations, and the community of the school.
Thank you, Ms. Kenmore. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm ready to call the question.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Question has been called. There's been a second. At this time, we'll take a vote on calling the question. This will end discussion and debate if it passes. I will do this by simply a voice vote. If I need to do a roll call, I will. All those in favor of calling the question and ending discussion and debate, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the question has been called. We will now move forward. And again, let me remind everyone what we're voting on. We're voting on the action item to approve the action item. The original motion was made by Mr. Donaldson. It was seconded by Dr. DeJarna. It is to approve the action item related to the charter school renewal of the Museum School of Avondale Estates. The recommendation is that it is recommended that the State Board of Education grant a charter to the Museum School of Avondale Estates, a grades K-8 local charter school approved by the DeKalb County Board of Education for a 3-year term, beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2025. Does anyone have any questions about what it is we are about to do and the vote we're about to take? I will do a roll call vote. Please answer yes or no. Mr. Long.
No.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Ms. Rice.
No.
Ms. Kennemore.
No.
Mr. Mason.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Mr. Royal.
No.
My vote is no. Ms. Zoller.
Yes.
Dr. DeJarna.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
No.
Mr. Donaldson.
Yeah.
Mr. Benton.
Yes.
Ms. Petty.
Yes.
We have a 7-7 tie, which means that the motion fails. Russ, at this time, we need your guidance on how to move forward.
At this point, the motion has failed to carry. The floor is open for additional motions.
I will entertain a motion to officially deny the charter petition that we previously voted on.
Well, just a point of order, Mr. Chair. The motion to approve has failed, so effectively, I'm asking, so effectively, the motion has been denied. Are we putting ourselves in more of a quandary parliamentarily wise if we do a motion to deny in its subsequent 7-7? We have dueling motions. Well, is that would those two votes then counter each other? And I don't believe so, because the motion, the motion needs, I believe the motion needs to be approved. You know, the motion was what we were voting on was to approve the charter, and in a tie, the motion fails. So at this point, the charter, the vote is no, effectively. So does that?
That is an incorrect statement of the way the statute is written, Mr. Royal.
Okay, that's why I'm asking. So,
Russ, can you clarify exactly the path that we need to venture moving forward? Was it appropriate for me then to entertain said motion to deny the charter petition? Would that be the next course of action for us?
If that is the will of the board, yes.
Again, we'll entertain a motion, an official motion to deny the charter petition.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
It's moved by Mr. Royal. Do I have a second?
Second, Lisa Kennemore.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Kennemore. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, I'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Mike Long,
Yes.
Mr. Frank Griffin,
No.
Ms. Helen Rice,
Yes.
Ms. Lisa Kennemore,
Yes.
Mr. Kenneth Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Scott Sweeney,
No.
Mr. Mike Royal,
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Martha Zoller,
No.
Dr. Standa Jarnett,
No.
Mr. Scott Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Matt Donaldson,
No.
Mr. Leonte Benton,
No.
Ms. Finippetti.
No.
We have a 7-7 vote. Russ, we need guidance, please.
At this juncture, if the board is not willing to continue discussions today, the board will need to consider the petition at some future date.
All right. Is there any further discussion regarding this? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Donaldson. Multiple seconds. Ms. Zoller, thank you. All those in favor of adjournment, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, nay. All right, that concludes our business for the day. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you, Chairman Downey. Have
Thank
a
you.
great weekend, everyone.